Bingo Blitz rules.
If your bingo has ads in it,
That's not a bingo.
if it doesn't have the coolest tournaments, mini games, and the most breathtaking design,
Nope, not a bingo.
if your bingo moment makes you feel so excited that you just want to burst in joy and scream out loud, bingo! Sorry, so you're playing...
Bingo Blitz? Now that's a bingo. Go for a world of excitement with Bingo Blitz, the #1 free bingo game. Download Bingo Blitz and play for free.
Now that's a bingo.
This episode is brought to you by Skinny Pop Popcorn. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Oh, so light and crunchy. Skinny Pop Original Popcorn is the snack you've been searching for. Made with just 3 simple ingredients: popcorn kernels, sunflower oil, and salt. Snacking never felt or tasted so good. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Give yourself permission to snack and pick up Skinny Pop Original Popcorn today.
Let's hang out.
Let's hang out.
And let's talk about what lessons have found.
Let's hang out.
And let's listen to two lesbians shout.
Let's hang out.
Let's hang out.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Let's Hang Out, the podcast for everyone on and off the gender binary. I'm your host from the West Coast, Lee Holmes Foster.
And from the East Coast, I'm Ellie Brigida, and we are so excited to bring you episode 10 of season 2, NBD. To those of you who have been with us through this whole journey, thank you as always for listening, and if you're a new listener, welcome. We're excited to have you here. And here's what's happening this week.
This week in the Lesdom.
This week in the Lesdom is somewhere that we can touch base, catch up on stuff that's happening in our lives, in the podcast, in the greater Les universe, and we obviously are going to start out with our live show. It's getting closer. It's coming.
Oh my gosh, it's coming.
Happening.
It's coming so soon. We are about a month out right now.
Yes.
So you better get your tickets because it is coming.
It is happening. It's on.
Ugh,
It's going
we are
down.
so excited.
coming
We've
up.
already announced one of our guests,
All the
Carolyn
directions.
Bergier. It's going to be a blast. We're so excited
Yes.
to see all of you.
Also, if you happen to not be able to make our New York show, or maybe you're out somewhere more on the other side of the country, we are going to be at Klexicon, and we are also going to be recording a show there.
So pumped.
Oh my god.
Should have been gay live at Klexicon
At
is
Klexicon.
a dream come true.
Gonna be a blast. So you have a whole other opportunity to come see us, come hang out in person, get your butts to Klexicon, is what we're saying.
Yes. And we also have our Taboo Toys contest, which we are extending through February 1st because we want to make sure that you all have access to good sex. So
That is our dream. That is the dream.
Yeah, that's the dream. So in order to enter, email us your pictures of your tickets for the live show for the chance to win a Shishi scissoring vibrator.
Or if you can't come to the live show and you don't have a ticket to send us, go on your Instagram or on your Twitter, post a picture of you and your queer crew, or just you. That's cool too. You can be your own crew.
Yes.
And tag us at Let's Hang Out Pod and tag Taboo Toys. They are at Buy Taboo Toys, and also buy some Taboo Toys.
Yeah, do it.
Why not?
And we also have very exciting news, a new Patreon perk. Super pumped about this. We're going to be doing ad-free episodes. Yeah. So, I cannot believe I just said yeah. So,
Please leave that in. Please
honestly,
don't cut that.
never cutting that.
Okay.
But at any level, you can get ad-free. So for just $1 a month, the lowest Patreon level, you can get ad-free episodes. It's actually really easy to upload the RSS feed into whatever podcast catcher you use, and we'll be able to show you that. So it's very seamless to get those ad-free episodes.
So if you're tired of craft ads, we just want you to know there is another option.
And we're sorry.
Join our Patreon family. Although I do think we have other ads now. The
Yes, we finally do. Eloise gotta eat.
But I know we all suffered through that together, and we made it out stronger, better people for it. So, so there you go. Join our Patreon, ad-free episodes, and that's what's happening this week.
Back to you, Ellie and Lee.
Thanks, Ellie and Lee. This episode, we are super excited. We are talking to Dan Owens, a genderqueer talent manager and owner of Radimo, a gender-fluid clothing brand and marketplace.
Hey, Dan. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today.
Oh my God. Thank you for hanging out with me all in different places.
Yes.
It's the virtual hangout. That's how we do it.
So excited.
We have so many things that we are going to talk about today. We said what Dan is doing now, but he's been a fixture in the LGBTQ community for a while now, doing all sorts of good things. Hopefully we are going to get to all of them. So she is one of the founders of Everyone is Gay, My Kid is Gay, Lesbians Who Look Like Justin Bieber. Let's start there. Can we start with
we have to start
Justin
with
Bieber.
lesbians who look like
We gotta start there. I mean, that's what kicked off my whole career. Like, God bless Justin Bieber. I'm gonna be honest, I kicked off his career.
Yeah.
But
Can we say
You
that
know
is
what I
probably
mean.
like the only time someone will say that sentence?
I mean,
Thank God
I
for
just gotta
Justin
say-
Bieber.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Did you think when you started that it would be such a big thing?
No, Tumblr wasn't even famous yet. I was like, here's what happened is I was in a comedy band and Justin Bieber was like nobody really knew who he was, but he just got picked up by Usher and did this music video that my friend Amanda and I were like, oh my God, this 12-year-old boy, this is the cutest thing I've ever seen. And we did a mashup of a Justin Bieber and Taylor Swift song. And
Wait, which songs?
It was Justin Bieber. The song was called One Time.
Okay.
And the Taylor Swift song was You're Not Sorry. Fuck both those people now. But Justin Bieber tweeted it at her to like flirt with her or whatever. And then she like responded. So it blew up and it had like whatever, like 80,000 people saw it. And there were like multiple comments that were like, that lesbian looks like Justin Bieber.
Oh
And I
my
was like-
God. And that lesbian was you, just to clarify, right?
Yes, the lesbian was me. And I wasn't like, it's not this lesbian that looks like Justin Bieber. It's most lesbians look like Justin Bieber. Like, that's the thing. So I just like, I was like, whatever, I'm going to start a Tumblr and put up like 5 pictures. And it was like, it felt like overnight, all of a sudden, like one of the posts had 1,000 whatever reblogs. And I was like, wait, what? And then I was like getting asked for interviews by like MSN and like AOL News. And everyone's like, so explain what Tumblr is.
Oh my
and
God.
like, it's just so hilarious to think about now because I felt like, well, basically I invented the internet. You're all welcome. And
Well,
it's
Tumblr
like
is lesbian internet, so you definitely invented
Yes.
that.
Thank you so much. And also, I like to say 2 things that were not in mainstream media before Lesbians Who Look Like Justin Bieber: lesbians and Justin Bieber. That's all I have to say. That's all I
That
have
is
to say about
amazing.
it.
I'm just curious, do you still update it?
No, not at all. I don't even think I know how to sign into it anymore.
Oh my God.
I'm saying this is the era of reboots, and if anything needs a reboot, I think it's Lesbians Who Look Like Justin
Lesbians
Bieber.
Who Look Like Justin Bieber reboot. That's a great idea.
Yes.
That's really
Because
good.
whatever his look is right now, I'm sure that we can find somebody.
Oh yeah,
He's
well
got
he's
a weird
like,
vibe going on right now.
yeah, I think he's gone way towards like the fuckboy lesbian.
Yeah.
So I think there are a lot of different looking
like-
lesbians in the same vein who now look like
I
him.
feel like right now
Okay.
his style is like if fuckboy lesbians and Eminem had a love child.
Yes.
Oh no!
Right?
That's
Yeah.
That's a reality show I don't want to watch.
Not good.
But I think that's coming next fall too, so it's fine.
Yes,
Everything's
exactly.
rebooting. It's good.
Wait, so I also read that this led to you running social media for Virgin Mobile on tour with Lady Gaga. Like, how did that
That's
happen?
correct.
Yeah, well, how do you get from point A to point B there?
I know, seriously. Well, okay, so I started Lesbians Who Look Like Justin Bieber, and then obviously everybody in the queer community was like, well, now we trust you and we love you
Obviously.
and we want
That's
to know
all
your
it takes.
advice about heartbreak. And I was like, sure, that makes sense. And then I did this thing for MTV. It was like MTV's search for the first ever TJ, which was a Twitter jockey. Great idea, poor execution. And me and one of my best friends, Gabby, were like the final 2. And so this gave me some sort of credibility. So it was like the company that was doing all the creative for the Monster Ball tour, they reached out to me because they've heard about me through someone, and they were like, oh my God, you did MTV, you did Lesbians Who Look Like Justin Bieber, will you come in for an interview? And then at the interview, they were just like, okay, so if you were to go on tour and be like the blogger, the behind the scenes blogger for Virgin Mobile, what would you do? And I was like, well, I probably couldn't do anything that much from the behind the scenes. Like, I'm not going to be able to get like sneak pics of Lady Gaga. So I was like, I'd probably make it all about the fans and do like videos of like their experiences and blah, blah, blah. And they were like, oh my God, we love it. And I was like, okay,
cool.
sick. Yeah, sick. And they just loved my ideas. And my ideas have always been like, talk to people and get to know their hearts. And like, that's basically it. And people love it. People love hearts.
People do
In like
love
a not
hearts.
creepy way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The not the literal, maybe.
Yeah.
So, okay, but
Some
wait.
people.
So what year Lesbians Who Look Like Justin Bieber was?
Yes, was 2010.
Was
And
2010.
then, yeah, it was literally like March of 2010, I did Lesbians Who Look Like Justin Bieber. In March of 2011, I was on tour with Lady Gaga. It was like,
so insane.
it was wild. 2010 was like a messed up year. There was so much going on.
That's crazy. You talked a little bit about giving advice, right? So you're talking about everyone is gay, correct?
Well, that started from, I would just people would ask me questions on like the Lesbians Who Look Like Justin Bieber Tumblr. They would like send me stuff, and then I started doing Form Spring. I don't know if y'all remember that.
Yes.
But
Wow.
yeah, it was like a form spring where you could anonymously ask questions. And my friends were getting questions like, what's your favorite cheese? And mine were like, how do you heal from heartbreak? And I was like, okay.
And you were like, look, everyone loves hearts, so let me tell you
Yes,
something
exactly.
about this.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, wow. But okay, wait. I know Ellie's jumping us ahead because we're super excited to get to everything. But did you get to like get sneak pics of Lady Gaga backstage?
Well, technically, Ellie's not jumping ahead because we did start Everyone Is Gay before I did Lady Gaga. It was like right between, but there weren't sneak pics. I became friends with like all the dancers, all the band members, all the like everybody who worked on the tour. We were all just friends. We were like family. There were like 8 buses riding around.
Yeah.
We all stayed in the same hotels. So I would do stuff like I would do interviews just like this, like on my phone with one of the backup dancers or one of the backup singers, or like I would get sneak backstage stuff. And also there were like guest bloggers. So a couple of people won like a chance to come be a blogger for a day. And because I'd become friends with everyone, they're so lucky that I'm a Libra and I had this job. But because I'd become friends with everyone, and they were like, you're going to be a guest blogger. You get to do everything the blogger does. But they weren't allowed to go backstage. They weren't allowed to do like any of the cool stuff that I got to do, which was like somebody would win a chance to meet Lady Gaga and I would take them to go meet Lady Gaga. But the guest blogger couldn't do that. So I was trying to make their experience actually fun. And I would be like, Michael, will you come meet this guest blogger? And so like everyone who did come, I would like bring either like the opening band or a couple of or like the violinist or like one of the backup dancers to come like meet and take pictures with them.
Yeah.
So like I would do sneaky stuff like that, but they were like, there was so much that they would not let me do that. Like if I was on the other side watching the blogger on this tour, I would be like, this blogger on this tour can't do anything, but I just like made it work.
Yeah.
Somehow.
I also love that you brought up that you're a Libra. Like it's just like gay people freaking love astrology. Like I was literally talking about it on New Year's Eve. Like I feel like anytime, which was 2 days ago. Like
I was in therapy today and I was like talking to my therapist I was like, I feel like when I smoke weed, I don't get paranoid in the traditional sense, but I am like, what does this people think? And she was like, so you get Libra paranoid. And I was like, don't be rude. Yes.
And you were like, this is why you're my therapist. Like you get me.
Exactly. I was.
That's
I was like,
so
thank
amazing.
you so much. I love you. You're hired.
Oh my God.
Can we talk about Everyone Is Gay? Is that okay, Lee?
Yeah, I'll allow. That's fine. I'm gonna let's get there. Okay,
All right.
I'm ready.
So for anyone who doesn't know, can you explain what Everyone Is Gay is?
Other than just like a factual statement.
Other than just a factual statement. Okay, so this form spring where I was getting all of these drama questions from the whole queer community, because I was like the representative of the queers at this point.
King of the queers.
I
Got it.
basically started, so I'd met someone named Kristen who was like getting their degree in gender studies. I was like, we've got an academic queer here, and I'm just like a goofy ass. So we started
that
answering
sounds
these
literally
questions.
like me and you.
Queer
Oh my God, is
PhD.
it?
Yeah.
Yes, queer PhD. Oh my
And
God,
goofy
hilarious.
ass.
Wait, who's the goofy
I'm
and
the
who's
goofy
the
ass.
academic? And you're the academic.
Lee
You're like,
has
I'm
a
an
PhD.
academic and I've got a baby.
I like to give thesis ideas out on the podcast. It's fine. Don't judge me.
Oh, well, one time Kristen wrote a gender studies paper on lesbians who look like Justin Bieber. So there's been an academic paper about
You being a goofy
the
ass.
change that I created.
And I'm not going to lie, I desperately want to read that paper.
I know, right? Where is it anyway? But so we started, I basically collected a bunch of the questions. I put together a Tumblr. We came up with the idea for it, and we just started answering Kristen Says, Danielle Says. And it was, people started to read it pretty quickly because I already had this following from lesbians who look like Justin Bieber. And almost like 5 days in, we got this long question from the parent of someone who was like, I'm widowed. I have 2-year-old twins, a dog that like is eating shampoo, and a 15-year-old son. And my son just came out to me as gay while we were in the middle of an argument, and he stopped talking to me. And the father was like, I don't know what to do. Please help me. And so at that point, we were like, okay. The first question we ever answered was like, is my dog gay or something? Like we were just doing goofy, like ridiculous shit. And so we kind of had to step back and be like, do we want to take this seriously? And we decided to go for it. And we were like, okay, write a letter. Write your son a letter and tell him how you feel. Tell him you support him and give him the time and space to process it on his own. And it was like 2 days later, we got an email and he was like, I wrote a letter. Our relationship is already so much better. You like saved what could have been a disaster. And we were like, boo. So
Yeah.
Everyone is Gay turned into a place where we gave advice to queer youth and also their parents.
Yeah, you're like, and we were like, and I'm like, over here.
I know your eyes are all glossy. I'm like, should I get it?
No, it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
It was really cool. Yeah.
It really is. I mean, so this brought you to also, you wrote a book. This is a book for parents of gay kids.
When I went on tour with Lady Gaga, in every single city, someone would recognize me from the internet, from like Everyone is Gay and lip sync videos and blah, blah, blah. And it was like everyone you could possibly imagine, like the most dressed up, like most flamboyant little monster to like 2 straight girls who were like, in Utah who were like, we're straight, we're Mormon, we love Everyone is Gay. And I was
Oh
like,
my God.
it was like everyone. It was so amazing and it was so fun. And kind of on that tour, I was like, we need to be going on tour. So then we started touring schools, and through the experience of like meeting people in real life, getting questions on the internet, going on tours to schools, we were like, the question that people ask the most, across the board, no matter who you are, what age, how you came out, what you came out as, everyone wants to know what the fuck to do about their parents. The problem in the queer community is our parents.
Yeah.
And so we were like, all right, let's write a book. And that's why we wrote, this is a book for parents of gay kids. And it's just an advice guide for like anyone whose kids is coming out to them.
Maybe if straight people would stop having so many gay kids, like, God.
Yeah,
we
straight
wouldn't
people
have these problems.
are the problem.
I don't even know any straight people at this point.
Honestly, same. Except my mom. So there it is.
Except my mom. And she's the problem.
No, she's not. She's wonderful.
She's not the problem. Your mom is wonderful.
But still. I mean, even my mother, I think she would really benefit from because she wants to know. Like, she's always asking me, like, what is the like best thing to do for you?
Yes.
Even actually, the other day, she was talking to me about one of her friends whose daughter just came out as non-binary, but it's similar actually to Dan, where she prefers she and he. And so my mom was like, I just don't get it. Like, she's like, can you help, like, explain, help me? You know, like, she's not trying to be like rude. She's like, I want to know, like, how do I communicate with this person? How do I help this other parent, like, understand her kid?
Yeah.
You know?
My dad, was it like 2 years ago or something like that? I don't remember. My dad was like, I have a friend whose whose kid just came out to them as trans, and the friend is a therapist, and yet that therapist wanted to talk to me, was like, what do I do about it? And I was like, talk to them, and they were like, I just feel like I lost my daughter. And I was like, can I tell you something? If you spend this much time focusing on the fact that you lost your daughter, you're going to miss out on the opportunity to have the rest of your life with your son. Like this, that's not, stop trying to understand it. It doesn't fucking matter. Like, stop trying to understand it and just continue to love your kid the way you always have.
Yep.
That's the answer. And that's honestly, like, the end of the day, every question we answer in that book, that's the answer. It's like, just love your kid. But it is, like, parents are just like, okay, what do I do? How do I do it right? And it's so hard when your kid is like, okay, I finally had the courage to come out to you. I don't really want to answer all your questions. Like, I don't even know if I know the answer to half your questions. So it is nice to have just like a book that you can read while you're pooping or whatever. Like,
Yes.
When we all get all of our quality reading time in, you know.
exactly. That's when I do my best Instagramming, you know?
Yeah. You gotta
That's what you mean when you say reading, right?
Use,
to be
use all
fair,
those
look,
extra
here's the thing.
hours.
Bathrooms have excellent lighting. Like, there's
For
so many
pictures,
mirrors.
Lee, are you...
What?
Yeah.
Lee's just on her Instagram story, like, every time
Yeah,
she's
oh,
in the
yeah.
bathroom.
Yes, of course.
All 3 Instagram
love a
stories
good,
I've ever
solid
posted,
bathroom
Ellie, all
selfie.
from me pooping, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
People want to see it, you know?
Yeah. My friends and I went through a long phase in like 2008, 2009. All we did was send each other pictures of us on the toilet. Like,
Yeah.
you're right. It's where the best lighting is.
Yeah. I still
It's
get
great
some from one
lighting.
of my college friends. That's like all she ever does on
See?
Snapchat.
There you go.
It's fine.
This is like a stupid aside, but when my wife and I got engaged, way back in the day, the place that we were staying, we were at like some B&B in Cape Cod that we got engaged, and we like had the rings, and we wanted to like take a nice picture of the rings together, and that's literally where we ended up taking it, was like in the bathroom, like over our bed and breakfast, because it was such good, and it's like with the mirrors and the lights, and they like the diamonds were all sparkly and everything, and we were like, no one will need to know that this is like on the bathroom counter. It's fine, you can't even tell.
Who cares? There's a flower next to it.
Exactly. It's always the best lighting.
It's a fancy bathroom, it seems like.
Yeah, bed and breakfast
Exactly.
is very classy bathroom, but you know, it's where you take them.
So from Everyone is Gay, are you still involved in Everyone is Gay?
No, it turned into like not the thing that we started, and I was just like, this isn't my vibe anymore.
Yeah.
It turned more into like, recently somebody was like, you don't even post a picture on Trans Awareness Day, and I was like, okay, well, all the guys in your band are straight cis dudes, so who's really making change here? Like,
Yes.
you know what I mean? Like, I'm not really a like, make sure I have something good to say on the awareness day and post it then,
Right.
because that's what's in it. Like, that just isn't I'm very like, whatever comes out of my mouth on the day it comes out. And Everyone is Gay kind of became like, let's make sure we're not getting in trouble. Let's make sure we're highlighting every identity and every awareness day. And I was like, no, thank you. That's just not my vibe anymore. And then was also just like a bunch of personal, emotional stuff going on that I was like, this isn't what this was supposed to be. We went our separate ways, and I continued to do activism kind of in the way that I wanted to, which I've always referred to as passive activism. Like, I don't necessarily want to I don't want to draw attention to the fact that I'm changing the world. I just want to be changing the world through all of my actions, pretty much through everything I do every day. And like, maybe if people get it, they get it.
And that's what I was going to say, is like, I feel like, I mean, yeah, your whole feed is almost like one big awareness feed, you know, like whether it's on any given day or like references it. I mean, I feel like that's kind of what it is, you know?
It is. You know, everybody communicates in a different way. So some people are going to be drawn to me, and some people are going to be drawn towards like, what awareness day is it? But I think that like, I get a lot of my inspiration comes from like my clients, right? And so my friend Jiminica, who's like queer, Black, poly, trauma expert, she works in sex ed, and she's like, literally the fact that I am out here, the fact that I'm on the internet, the fact that I'm open with my work and open with who I am, that is activism. I'm making a statement simply by being who I am. And she's right. And my client Amber, who's a queer Black woman, who's a YouTuber, it's like she's making a statement by being who she is. And there are so many of us that I'm like, the fact that I just like am genderqueer and talk about it sometimes is enough for a lot of people. A lot of people don't they want to see themselves reflected. They don't necessarily want to be like told what to do. And we all want to kind of go on our own journeys. And so like, that's just how I do stuff.
So can we dig a little more into that right now? Because I think, I mean, I don't want to say genderqueer in a general sense is something that I think people still have trouble with. They do. Mm-hmm. Not specifically like all generations, but I think especially like, you know, Ellie, or what you were saying about like your mom. And I think it is something that like, especially a couple generations beyond us, it is still something that is, they just like can't quite wrap their head around it.
Yes.
But one of the things that I think is fascinating, and that, you know, Ellie and I were just saying we find delightful, is like it can mean different things for different people.
Definitely.
So could you say a little bit more specifically for you, like what is your genderqueer identity? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's really interesting that you are talking about how like it means different things to different people, because I think that's how everyone's gender identity is, even if they don't recognize it.
I'm
like,
nodding so vigorously right now.
Yes,
for people
you're
who can't
both
see me.
nodding so much. I'm like, am I in trouble? Like you're not nodding so emphatically. I like don't believe it. You know what I mean? I'm just kidding. But there will be. I have friends who are like, who are just like cis women who are completely different people, completely different in the way they dress, the way they carry themselves, what they do for career, like how they present, all of that. And they both identify the same way. And I think that's exactly how I feel being genderqueer. And I find myself like, kind of as I was figuring out my identity, I realized that the people that I related to the most that I did see in media, which like there aren't genderqueer people in media, right? So I'm like looking for something that I identify with. The people that I did identify with the most were flamboyant gay men. Like if I did want to be feminine, it was like flamboyant, and it was like sometimes. And when I wanted to be masculine, it was like I want to be masculine and attract people. Like it's like every part of my gender identity is, I guess, used for different things. Like, I feel very much like a businessman, and I feel very much like a lady in drag. Like, it's different all the time, but it's the thing that I've realized most is I just kind of want to be confusing, androgynous. Like, I want to, if I'm at a cash register and someone doesn't know whether to say sir or ma'am, that's exactly what I want.
Yeah.
Like, they don't know, so they don't say it. I'm like, great, thank you. That's perfect.
That's amazing. Well, and it's so, what I think is so great about it, which I just think is like so interesting, is it just brings up so many questions about like, what does it even, like, what does it mean? What does it all mean?
Yeah.
You know, like, what is it all? It's all just nonsense anyways. Like, we put so much weight on it. And I think there's places where like that weight can be justified in some ways, but you know, at the end of the day, it's like, this is all just nothing. Like, it's all just
I have a couple of friends who are cis women who identify as women, and they dress very like quotes around it girly. They're very femme, and they will talk to me and they'll be like, but I feel like I'm like dressing up. Like, I feel like it's a costume, but I also like the costume.
Right.
Like, I feel like I am my brother, but I happen to love putting on a costume and looking really like femme or whatever. And I'm like, that's so interesting and so valid and makes so much sense to me.
See, whereas I put on the costume for so long and I hated it.
Exactly.
Hated it.
Exactly. It's so interesting.
Yeah. I know we said this before we started recording, but I'm going to say it again because I really do. I absolutely love that your personal preference is for all pronouns.
Yes.
And that I just think is like the coolest thing. I just think it's great.
Yeah. Can you also explain, like, because it is like we were talking about, I was texting Lee and I was like, he's coming on, like, let's make sure, like, we ask her this.
Yes.
You know
that's
what I
like
mean?
a perfect sentence.
Like,
Yeah.
What you said something before we got on, and you were like talking about my pronouns, and you were like, I had said something earlier where I said he at the beginning and she at the end, and I was like, that's literally my gender identity. That is literally how it feels to be me.
It is, but that's so perfect.
Yeah.
And it's also it's something that I mean, this again has like apropos of nothing, but it's just like what keeps coming to mind is because so my family all speaks French as well. And one of my jobs with the baby is I'm supposed to teach Eloise French, which, like, God help me. And
It says voila on my
Does it?
sweatshirt
I
right
love
now.
it.
Yes.
it's perfect. I need it for her.
So French.
But what's been great about it is, like, A, realizing how, like, rusty and terrible my French is, but also it's really interesting for me to start thinking again in a language like French, where, like, gender is, like, such a different thing. It's, like, such a different beast. And one of the things that like, keeps hitting me, and I don't know why, it just keeps, like, sticking with me every time, is that, like, because nouns are all gendered in French, that, like, sometimes you're using a noun. So, like, when I talk about my dog, like, your dog is like, a dog is a male thing, but my dog is a girl, you know? And so I'm like, there's just something that's always so fascinating to me about how, like, it's completely not an issue to switch the genders around when the noun of the thing that you're describing is a different gender than the thing itself, you know?
Yes.
And, like, I don't know, there's just ways in which you do that, and I'm like, this is so crazy. Like, why is this, like, what does this all mean? Like, how do we reconcile all of these things, and why can we not reconcile it with people? Like,
I know,
why
it's
is it so hard
funny.
to do it with people, you know?
It's really interesting. I remember a part of why I was so fascinated when I was learning Spanish is because I was, like, learning the word for couch, and I was like, couch is a girl? Like, why do I have to learn that part of it?
Yes.
Like, what? It was always so confusing to me, but it's almost like, do they have a handle on gender even more than we do to be like, it's a girl, it's a boy, the couch is a girl, your car's a boy, I don't know what to tell you.
Like, who cares?
Yeah. Unless you're in France, your couch is a boy.
Just throw an A on the end.
Throw an E, I don't know, whatever.
Well, and it's also something that, like, I would love to have someone on at one point and, like, talk about how some of this is happening. Because, like, you know, in the U.S., like, we're just fighting this battle to be like, they can be singular. And people are like, no, it can't. And you're like, yes, it is. Obviously, we all use it that way all the time. You use
Literally
it that way all the
every
time.
day.
Like, get over yourselves. But then in other countries, it's like, it's becoming even that much more complicated, where they're like, we literally have to, like, invent a whole new word to enable this language to evolve this way. That hasn't always been used, you know, in a singular way or in a non-specific gendered way. Like, I would love to have someone on and talk about that too, because it's all just so fascinating, and, like, the language around it is just so cool. I just think it's all so cool.
Super interesting, yeah.
It really is.
Nerdly. This is the
Nerd.
academic is
Nerd.
showing.
Sorry, it's okay. I'll sit over here and have my own nerdy party. It's cool.
No, it's fine. It is very interesting.
Someone wants to write their thesis on this.
You
Oh,
did
God.
promise us a thesis. You
I
promised.
like
You were
giving
like,
people
I make the
ideas.
thesis every
Yes.
episode.
What
Or
I'm
I
really
don't
trying
know
to
how
do
you
is
say
to
it.
outsource my
So here we
research.
are,
So, like,
yeah.
if someone else has the time to do it all and write it up for me, that's really what I'm looking for. Because otherwise I'll have to do it all myself. And, like, I have a baby now, and there's a lot less time in my life.
Yeah, I want to
It's all
outsource
good.
all smart, nerdy stuff personally.
So there you go.
I got it,
Lee.
you guys. I'm on it. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. And as we head into Thanksgiving time, I want to start by thanking my wife, Kelsey, who has not only listened to just about every episode of this podcast for 8 seasons now, but who also is the only reason I'm able to make time to record it every week. She takes the kids, gets them dinner, and gets them ready for bed, just so that Ellie and I can come on and yell about gay things into each other's faces for an hour. So here's a reminder to send some thanks to the people you're grateful for in your life, including yourself. I've been in therapy for a long time now, and one thing that's so important about therapy is how it teaches you to be more intentional. And being intentional about gratitude and how to show that to the people you appreciate is just one of the many benefits that I've gotten from therapy over the years. If you've been thinking of starting therapy, consider giving BetterHelp a try. I know how hard it can be to find time for regular therapy, and BetterHelp is designed to be flexible and convenient for your schedule. You can fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. If you want to start being more intentional about gratitude in your life, visit betterhelp.com/letshangout today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/letshangout.
Let's hang out.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Shifting a little money here, a little there, and hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can be a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help you find options within your budget. Try it today at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states. For many businesses, the holiday season can be both an exciting and stressful time. With so many balls in the air, one thing you definitely want to know you can rely on is how you're selling your products. And with Shopify, you can rest easy knowing it's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Nobody does selling better than Shopify, and when it comes to successful brands like Aloe, Allbirds, or Skims, an often overlooked secret is all the things that go on behind the scenes that make selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, if you take a peek behind that curtain, you'll see that Shopify is what makes it all possible. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, so that's more happy customers and way more sales going. It's true all the time, but especially this time of year, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use for Realm merch with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm.
What's up, everyone? It's Noah Daniels.
Hey, y'all, I'm JJ.
Hey guys, it's Kat.
And we're your hosts of the Real Hauntings podcast, where we bring on guests who share their first-hand encounter ghost stories and supernatural experiences. Now on to the trailer.
I've been warned to not tell this story, but I think because of the way it ends, it's okay to tell this story, because some people say that with certain entities, to like speak of them or talk about them or in any way like portray them as powerful will attract them to other people. The creepiest thing about it to me is a lot of times it would wait for me to notice it. Like it would just lay its arm out like this, and then I'd be like, where is it? Where is it? And then I'd see it, and then it would just slither back.
For more information on the Real Hauntings, Real Ghost Stories podcast, make sure you check out real.fm to learn more about our podcast and many other amazing podcasts.
I do want to talk a little bit more about your identity as genderqueer, because it's actually why we reached out to you for the podcast. Like, not that part in particular, but one of my friends saw a post on your Instagram that was talking about how you feel like women's podcasts, magazines, and all those kind of stuff don't reach out to you because they think it's offensive, or like because they're like, well, you're non-binary, so like we shouldn't ask you, kind of thing. Yeah, why do you think that is?
Right. Yeah, I just noticed, like, when I was like a powerful queer woman who had all this experience, like I was like moderating a panel every month. I was like, people were asking me to speak on stuff. People were asking me to be on podcasts. Like everyone wanted my point of view. Everyone was like, come like help me make this more inclusive. And then I like came out as genderqueer, and it was like radio silence. Like it just stopped. Wow. And I think it's partially because people don't want to offend, but I also think it's because we're still not really looking to highlight trans voices at all. Like generally, if, you know, a company is run by a cis white woman, she's going to look to her community of other cis white women to be like, oh, I found a gay one. Now it's diverse. And I'm like, that's not how it works, everybody. But so I do. And also just noticing that as when I was being someone who was consulting and being like, here's how you make it more inclusive, and being at a music festival was like, we are for women fronted bands. I was like, okay, we'll change the language. And why don't you fly this person in who's really successful? She's trans. Her parents are immigrants. Like, this is the perfect person to bring. And they would be like, well, no, though. And I was like, why? Like, why wouldn't you want to spend $400, but you do want to spend like $2,000 having this like cis straight white woman do this? Like, what? Like, it made no sense. And I was just like, it was very clear to me that that people want to do change to a certain extent, to the extent that like still makes them comfortable. So I was experiencing that a lot, trying to be like, you know, I was like the queer woman helping out other white women, and we were all changing the world together. And I was like, oh, the amount of changing stops at some point.
Yeah.
And that was something that I ran into with Autostraddle and like pretty much everyone. I want to be like, do you guys want me to release a list of like white ladies who don't actually want to change the way that they say they do? Because I will. I'll do it. Book's coming out. The book's coming out.
Yeah.
We talked earlier. You were like, "I'll say anything." Clearly,
yes,
here we are,
Do it. Bring
and
it.
we're not
Bring
cutting
it.
it.
No,
Exactly.
It is, and I think I feel like non-binary, genderqueer, like a lot of these things they're really starting to feel out all of those places, you know, like that's where you can start to see where those walls are like coming up. And it's interesting to me. I love it. Like so Ellie and I actually met at a acapella festival a couple of years ago.
Oh my God, cute.
And yeah, so I might be an academic nerd.
Nerds.
We are both giant acapella music nerds.
We're nerds. Yeah, we're all nerds.
But we met at an acapella festival put on by the Women's Acapella Association, and it began as a women's acapella festival called She Sings. And this past year was the last year it is going to be called She Sings. It has sort of morphed into realizing that it does want to be a space for more than just she. And so it's rebranding as We Sing this year.
Oh my God, cute.
Yeah, and it's like watching that process happen and watching like the discussions like behind the scenes going into it has just been really, really interesting, you know, of like where do we want to land? Like where do you want to have that wall or do you not want to have that wall? And I think, you know, the overwhelming feeling was like we don't. I'm seeing it as well. There's like a huge thing going on with my college right now. I went to Mount Holyoke, which is a women's college, which accepts non-binary and accepts trans students and is now, you know, kind of like also you're starting to see that pushback from certain people, especially in the alumni community. They just had like a huge Wall Street Journal kind of turfy article that someone wrote, like complaining about some of this stuff. And there's been like a huge pushback from people being like, nope. Take your bullshit somewhere else.
Yeah.
So it is. I feel like, you know, that's kind of where you're starting to see this same idea come up in a lot of different places.
Well, I think people also just like their boxes.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And like the binary, you know, like we like a black and white, we like an option A or option B.
I mean, people are just obsessed with themselves. Like everyone is like, your identity invalidates my identity.
Right.
And it's like, I don't even know you. So that's not what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, literally, that's not what's happening. You can be whatever you want to be, and I can be whatever I want to be. And I'm actually over here leaving you alone. That's the difference between us.
Yeah, I actually wanted to talk to you. That like sort of sums up what you said in one of your Instagram posts in a way. It was basically about dysphoria and how some trans people are saying that people can't be non-binary. Could you elaborate on that post?
Sure, absolutely. So dysphoria, basically where dysphoria comes from is that the medical industry does not want to give any trans person money or insurance or therapy. Like they just want to avoid it as much as possible. So the medical community was like, okay, there's something called dysphoria. It's like an actual mental illness where somebody does not identify with the gender they were assigned at birth. And they were like, it's a mental illness. And this is how you fix it. You fix it with hormone therapy. You fix it with surgery. There are different ways that you can fix it. And so now it's kind of socially become like, oh, well, if you're trans, then you have dysphoria. But there are a lot of us, especially in the genderqueer and non-binary community, who are like, there's not a way to fix what I feel. Like there isn't I can't go on hormones and feel more like myself tomorrow because that actually isn't it. The thing that I experience is I had the part of dysphoria where it was like I hated my body. I didn't identify with it. I didn't feel good in it. That all happened way before I learned the word genderqueer. I learned the word genderqueer and I started dating someone who accepted me for who I was and like saw me and saw my body the way that I saw it. And every feeling that I ever had of like not liking my body and not liking the way I looked, and that all went away. As soon as I was using all pronouns, I was like, oh, I feel amazing. Like, this feels incredible. So I just don't really identify with that whole, I guess you would call it a theory, I don't know, that you have to have dysphoria to be trans. And I have a lot of friends who don't either. And I have friends who are like, oh, I'm trans. I used to have dysphoria. I don't have dysphoria anymore, but that's not what it is. That's not how it happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's interesting because it is such a medical thing. And I also just like don't subscribe to Western medicine at all. Like I don't want to go on hormones because I'm like terrified of putting whatever y'all cooked up in the kitchen inside my body.
Yeah. But I think it's like there's something that's so important about that distinction between like, is it something where it's like, oh, this is something wrong with me that I need to fix? Or is it like other people are like putting their baggage onto you?
Yeah.
You know, like and I think it gets into that whole thing about the language side of things where it's like there's so much built into these words, you know?
Yes.
And it's like it's hard to unpack that where it's like the words might not feel right, not because they're not like the right fit, but because like we've layered so many other things into them, you know, and like all of those things might not fit. Like,
and so much of my identity personally has to do with like if somebody uses a pronoun or uses Dan or Danielle, it's so much about the intention behind what they're using it. Like if you're saying like, excuse me, sir, oh, I mean, ma'am. And the reason that you're flipped out is because you're like, oh my God, I said it wrong. You're so obviously a woman. I'm like, I don't like that. Yeah. I don't like that at all. That feels weird to me. Yeah. Like you have dysphoria about me or what? I don't know. Like, I don't know how you describe it, but I think
offer them hormones. See if that helps.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that it keeps a lot of people from recognizing and feeling affirmed in their identity that we like put an expectation on them that if you want to be trans, that means you want to be the opposite of what you are now or something totally different from what you are now, or it means that you hate how you are right now. Whereas I think there are a lot of people who are non-binary who maybe someone was like assigned female at birth and they were raised as a cis woman and they present very feminine, and then one day they go like, all of this makes sense. The way that my body is makes sense. The way that I present makes sense. But something about pronouns doesn't feel right. And some people feel really empowered to be like, you know what? I'm non-binary. I'm non-binary and I'm femme and that's just how I am. But a lot of people I think don't, because they're like, it's not okay for me to feel that way because you have to feel a certain amount of like struggle and hate toward yourself and like you really want to be fixed to be able to feel that. Whereas a lot of people are just like, something about this identity doesn't really feel right and I don't know what it is. And I'm like, you know what it is? It's that non-binary feels better to you and that's okay.
Also, just to clarify, you are saying that some people do experience dysphoria and that's okay.
Definitely, yes. So I have a lot of friends who have gotten top surgery, have gone on hormone therapy, and they were like, my life is so much better now. Like I had gender dysphoria and I got the treatments that I needed to get and I am myself now. Like I was not myself before and I am myself now. And like dysphoria is a real thing. And that's why I think it's really dangerous to say in order to be trans, you have to have dysphoria, because then what you do is you force people who are like myself, like I'm genderqueer. I feel a part of the trans community. And for a while I was like, okay, well then that means I have to go on hormones. Like I have to go on hormones because I know that this doesn't feel right to me.
Right.
And that's just not the case. Like the thing is, like some people have dysphoria, some people don't, and all of it should be celebrated and all of it should be validated.
I really wish I could remember who I should have written down, who on Twitter that I just saw who had posted something where they were like, it was sort of the same idea about having to do with surgery, you know, where they're like people try to say like, oh, you have to have surgery, or like you're gonna hate yourself if you don't have surgery, or like all this stuff. And they were like, but the way I see it is more just like, you know, some like I'm still a woman, just like some women have dicks, and like I'm one of those. And like I just thought that was like such a cool way to say it too, you know, where it's like there, even within the trans community, I think there is still like a range of what people actually want for themselves, like what is the right body and the right identity, and the, you know, like it is, there's so many different options.
Definitely. Yeah. There are so many different options, and that should be something like I'd rather have a long conversation about how there are a trillion bazillion different options for gender rather than like, well, but do you have dysphoria? Because then I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't know. That somebody made that up like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like that literally is brand spanking new.
Yeah. Well, and even like one step past that of like, well, do you have the right body parts? It's like, well, what the fuck are the right body parts? Like, what is,
I know.
Like, who even knows? What does that even mean? You know, it's like, I mean,
exactly.
It's just such a very, I don't know. There's so much more than that.
The thing that has been around forever since the beginning of time is feminine and masculine energies living as one. Yeah. Like, that's basically it. That's what's been around forever. And I can tell you, like, that exists within me, but I can't tell you, like, what it has to do with any of my body parts or what shirt I'm supposed to wear. That hasn't, people just started wearing clothes a little bit ago. Like, what?
Like last year. Clothes didn't exist before then.
Clothes are fake, whatever.
Speaking of clothes.
Yeah, can we? It's like what a perfect transition.
I was like, let's do this.
Yeah. We couldn't have scripted it any better.
It's perfect. So we need to talk about Radimo. So why did you start Radimo?
I started Radimo because I was like, what's my gender identity? That's really what happened. But I was really trying to figure out. Throughout my whole life, I've hated wearing dresses and I've hated wearing suits. Both of those, like, I feel so uncomfortable in both. I was, like, getting fitted for a suit once and I was, like, shaking and sweating. I was so uncomfortable. But I was like, but I'm a lesbian. Like,
lesbians must wear suits.
I know. I was like, but lesbians have to wear suits. Like, I was so confused. But I basically started figuring out, like, I loved shopping. I started shopping vintage and, like, loving it and being like, oh, like, I'm digging through a pile of clothes and I see a shirt and it's like, it doesn't have any shape to it because it's from, like, the 80s and I love it. And I can put it with, like...
It has no shape but shoulder pads.
Yes, exactly. I was like, oh my gosh, I can wear, like, a tight shirt and baggy pants and, like, nobody knows what my gender is and I love it. Like... stuff like that. And so I started it because I wanted to be like, look, there are a million different ways that people can dress. And through that process, I was finding like a couple of brands here and there that were either like, we sell unisex or we sell androgynous, or these are masculine dress shoes for smaller feet. And so I was like, okay, well, it'd be cool to have a place where you could find all of that in one place, like all this queer stuff in one place. And then also I have a lot of friends who are in the plus size fashion industry. Watching them struggle with like finding what to wear. Like my friend had a birthday party and they were like, okay, bring something. We're going to do a photo shoot where everyone's wearing white. We're going to do a photo shoot where someone's doing this, and we're going to do a swim shoot. And I was like, does anyone know where to find androgynous swimwear? And it was like, I was desperately searching for androgynous swimwear and they were desperately searching for plus size swimwear. And all of us were like, ah. Yeah. And, you know, it was like, it's so interesting. And they like also my friends in the plus size industry gave me so much confidence because they were like, look, nobody's on a runway who looks like me, but fuck you guys. Here I am. I look amazing. I look hot. I like wear fucking cool shit. And I was like, oh, there isn't anyone on TV or on a runway who looks like me, but I could still figure it out and do it myself. So I wanted to kind of create a space where it was like, look at all of these different people. And for me, I was like, well, let's basically do what the fashion industry should be doing. I want there to be trans models, black models, plus size models. Like, I want every single product that's in this store, I want to see on different body types, different skin tones, and different styles, different gender presentations. Yes. So that's what I started doing. I started doing it with vintage, and then I had a couple of brands, and then we just did a huge campaign launch where now we have 16 brands that are owned by like queer, trans, black, people of color, disabled business owners, women, non-binary. Like, it's all, if you go there, you're like buying from somebody who either only sells on their Instagram DMs or like has an Etsy. Like, it's become a marketplace for marginalized business owners, basically, which is pretty fucking sick. And then they get the opportunity, they send me some of their products, and they get their opportunity to have like a campaign where their stuff is shot in like a gender fluid way and in an inclusive way, and it's just fucking sick. And then we just started doing or just kind of like launched the consulting arm of it, which is basically based on my past with consulting. And hopefully moving forward, we'll have a lot to do with like big brands.
It's amazing.
How did you find all of the people that the models, like the designers? Are those mostly your friends, or how did you get such a conglomeration of people?
Yeah. The models are all my friends or my clients. I have a bunch of clients. I guess not a bunch, but like some of my clients are new and we're not like making a ton of money yet. So I'm like, I'll work for you and you work for me. Like, because I haven't really been able to pay people until most recently the most recent campaign, I got a grant for $8,000 to put together this huge campaign. So all the models were paid, which was so nice because so many of them have done so much like free work for me that it was really wonderful to be able to pay them. And that was really sick. I got it through this organization, DRO, which is Demanding Equality Revolutionaries Only. I was like, yes,
nice.
Absolutely. It was sick. And they're a brand new organization and they do like one big grant and then a bunch of micro grants per year. They're really, really sick. Pretty much everyone is my friend. Jordy, who's like now a client of mine, I just met they worked at a vegan restaurant around the corner from me. And every time I walked in, I was like, I have a crush. And I would like go in with my girlfriend and I would be silent and she would talk to them. Amazing. And I would be like, thanks. And then I was just like, are you interested in modeling? Because I can't pay, but I have a genderqueer fashion brand and it's right around the corner from here. And they were like, I would love to. And I was like, okay.
Nice.
And then we became friends and they're also a spiritual healer and they've done readings for me. And they're also now one of my clients. So it's like, Radimo is kind of like a little family of like genderqueer, like fun little whatnots who run around and we all have just like Mars, who's like now a trans activist, like on the rise, wanted to intern for me like a year ago. And I don't remember what happened, but it was like we met once and then they like took my hard drive to go do something and then like never showed up. And I was like, what's going on? Anyway, you want a model? And they were like, yeah. And then just became one of my models and friends. Like just, yeah, I met all of them through some like cosmic, weird, magical something or other.
I think that is like the queerest story we've ever had told on this podcast.
There have been a lot of really queer
Thank
stories.
You. It's an honor.
I love it.
Amazing. Can we talk a little bit about the photo shoots?
Yes.
Were those shot at your house?
Some of them have been. Like, there have been the first, like, 3 or 4 shoots we've just done, like, around my apartment. And then this last one, we rented a space in North Hollywood that was, like, I was like, how is there a house that also has a garage with old-timey cars that also has, like, it was the wildest thing I was, like, so excited to have found it.
Are those the photos that are up right now on the site?
Yes, those are the one. If you just go to radimo.la and it like opens with the lookbook, that's insane. All on the location. They're so sick. Yeah. And my whole background, like everything that I've done, whether it was like everyone is gay or working for a startup or whatever, like my background is just basically producing. So producing out that photo shoot was so fun. Like producing the runway show that we did this year was so fun. And like the creative team that I work with are just like absolute geniuses. I literally came up with my girlfriend is actually my creative director. And I literally was like, I want to do like 50s housewife, but all the housewives are genderqueer and all the houses are abandoned. And she was like, got it. And she just like came up with all of these scenes, was like, we need slime, we need eyeballs, and I was like, okay. I said one sentence and she just like, the creativity just like burst out of her brain and it was like beautiful. And the photographer is a really good friend of mine, also one of my clients, like shot the whole thing, didn't charge us, which also she couldn't because she's from London. So, you know, for tax reasons, couldn't charge us anyway. Right. So it worked out. But
nice.
Yeah. But also just like loved the campaign and is so talented and does like high fashion and just shot like the cover of Crack magazine and like just all these wonderful people. And then my stylist is like a queer woman of color who just like gets it and is like in fashion school, like used to be a stylist at G-Star, is like obsessed with what we're doing. Everyone who's working on the project is just a genius. And I think that's what happens when you hire queer people, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
True.
Agreed.
But, it's just and the photo shoots are just so fun. Like everybody loves each other and everybody's already friends, even if it's only from being at one other Radimo shoot or seeing them on my Instagram or whatever. Like everyone has me in common and everyone like is queer or genderqueer or just like really fucking cool. So it's just always the best time.
Do you have like a favorite moment from the shoot or like a fun behind the scenes story or something?
Oh my gosh, a fun behind the scenes story. What a great question. I mean, one of my favorite parts of the shoot is that so Megan Tonjes, who is also one of my clients, and she was one of the plus size models. She was like, she has a dog named Margot. And I was like, Margot can come if you want her to. And then the day of, she texted me and she was like, so do you want me to bring Margot? Do you need Margot for modeling? And I was like, I don't need Margot, but I want her to come.
Bring
she
Margot.
was like, okay. And like the one shot that Margot made it in was there's like a kind of a like family tableau, like sitting on the couch watching TV, and everyone has these like eyeball glasses and looks like dead in the eyes. And then Margot's just like sleeping,
Nice.
just like somehow just like jumped up and was just like sitting in Zoe's lap, just like sleeping. And I'm like, oh, this is perfect. Like we have everything. We've got everything.
You've got Margot, you've got everything. That's so great.
You've got Margot, you've got everything. Yes.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, just clicking on the site, I just feel like the photos just perfectly encapsulate like the feeling of what you want the brand to be. It's just, it is really cool.
Thank you so much.
It's
It
really
also,
cool.
I feel like the photos, when you see them, you realize how easy it would be for clothing brands to be inclusive.
Yes, because you're like, these photos are awesome.
Oh, wow.
Like, there's no...
Yeah, you're like, oh, this is fucking sick, and it looks very fashion, and... Like, and all these brands these are people who are hand making this shit in their apartments.
Right.
Like, these aren't big brands with millions of dollars. We don't have a huge marketing budget. We just have diversity and inclusivity. Like, we're just trying a little bit. That's pretty much it.
Well,
you just have like the tiniest bit of like motivation and intention, and look what you can do with it. You know, God, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So you are starting now to do inclusivity consulting, right? So what brands do you want to see doing these kinds of things?
Well, there are a couple of brands like Target and Gap Kids, and there are a couple of brands that want to do gender neutral stuff and are just kind of like, they're kind of sitting on the sidelines, like waiting for the right moment, basically.
Yeah.
And what that means is they just need to hire the right people to put that stuff in place. And I'm talking to someone right now who's doing, it's like a thing that I can't talk about, but like I'm talking to someone right now who's doing a big campaign that would be really amazing for like gender neutral for kids. And basically I'm like, there are only a couple of tweaks you really need to make that any brand really needs to make something inclusive. And there's like, I have a friend who's a writer on a late night show, and I'm like, look, all you have to do is when you put the name across the screen, just put their pronouns right below it. So it's like Mindy Kaling, she, her. And I was like, and then you have somebody on there who's non-binary and it says they, them, and nobody's confused, and you don't have to have a whole conversation about what their pronouns are. And you don't like, and when I was talking to my friend about it, she was like, do you feel like you're giving this information away for free? And I was like, you know what? I hope that this information will make you hire me, because if no one on your staff has brought up this really easy thing to do, then you need to hire me. Like, that's one thing. You know what? Everyone have a free tidbit. Have a free tidbit. Like,
I mean, especially if your tidbit is that simple. Like, good God.
Exactly.
That's when you can. That's when you can just hand out for free. That's fine.
That's when I can hand out to everyone. Here, have one free tidbit. But it's like, there are so many things that you just don't think about because it's not your experience. And it's clear to us in the queer and genderqueer community that y'all aren't thinking about this, because H&M, Forever 21, Zara, everyone thought they were doing a gender neutral collection 2 years ago. But we were like, no, we don't need other options for sweatshirts. Like, that isn't really what we're saying here. And it kind of like, it exploded and it was everywhere, and there was PR, and like everyone was like tagging me in the look at this new gender neutral collection. And I'm like, overalls are already gender neutral. That isn't what we're trying to get across. Like, your models literally look like a straight couple holding hands. This is not what we're trying to do. And you could bring me in for an hour and I could give you you 10 ideas that would make your entire brand 1,000% more inclusive.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that whatever this secret project is comes through. We'll be looking out for it. Yeah.
Yes. Well, it won't be, it's like the second I'm allowed to talk about it, I'm going to be screaming about it. So you won't even have to keep your eyes open that much,
We'll be waiting.
Okay. I think before we wrap up and move to the next thing, I feel like, so that's brands and companies and clothing things. We kind of talked about it a little bit, but just as like a final point, as a community, like the LGBTQ community, what are things like, what would you say are like the top things that you think we could all do to be more inclusive as well?
I think that what we need to focus on is continuing to learn. And if you focus on like racism, if you go to the point where you're like, I want to learn everything there is that I need to learn to make this racially inclusive, to make it so that like I'm thinking about racial justice first, you're going to learn everything else along the way. If you're thinking first of Black trans women, you're going to be fine everywhere else. Like that is what I think. I think that like there's such a I don't know, but I see and tangentially know so many queer white women who are wearing dreadlocks, and I'm like, you know what, that's an easy one. That's a really, really easy one. And it's just like makes a huge difference. It makes a big difference. And there are people, it's like what we were saying when people are like, well, your identity invalidates mine. Like, no, come on, get it together.
Yeah.
Just learn a little bit. Like, we don't need to be, you can be like a young, fun trans man without like using the word lit and making fun of like big booties. Like, don't be an asshole is kind of my overall thought process. And also the best thing that we can start doing right this second is just like uplift Black non-binary artists, uplift like the disabled community, who there's so many like queer people of color in the disabled community who are telling us what we need to do, and we're just not listening. So I think that's really, we just need to be listening and just listen and then do it.
Yeah.
You don't need to ask questions.
Yeah, you don't need to like shut the door and hold it closed behind you. Like just leave it open.
Yeah, exactly.
Just let someone else walk through too, you know.
Right.
Nice.
That's a pretty good and hopefully easy advice. Like, should be.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And you got that for free, everyone.
You got that for free.
There you
That was
go.
a discounted rate.
All right, well, with that, I think it is time for our Q and Gay, Lee.
Q and gay.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Q and gay.
Q and gay.
So Q and gay, and some of these we might have covered already, but Q and gay, we will be asking you, Dan, some questions, and then we will be posting them on our Twitter so that our listeners can answer as well. So you will notice they are all multiple choice, and we have a limited number of options because Twitter polls are restricted. So
Yes, they are.
okay, so Q and gay, I'm going to take it away. Question number 1. If you could get advice about hearts from anyone, who would it be? Out of the following: Kristen Stewart, Ellen Page, Leia Delaria, or yourself, Dan Owens.
Myself.
There you go. I think that's going to be a popular
Myself.
option.
It would be 100% me. Thank you. Well, I mean, look, I'm just the best out of that list is all I got to say about that.
When you're the top, you're the top.
I know. I was like, there wasn't even
any.
anyone really close that I could even put in the multiple choice. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just-
I was kind of fishing for compliments and it worked.
It worked.
Just don't say you're the top on Tumblr these days. I think that gets you banned. So.
Oh, God.
Oh, nice.
Good one, Lee.
Okay.
There's the pun you promised me.
But,
All right.
You're all weak.
Question number 2. Is everyone gay? Yes or no?
Yes.
Easy.
Somehow I felt like that was a trick question. This is my thing about tests is I'm like, okay, I know what my answer is, but what's the right answer?
The point of these is that there are no right answers. It's very clear.
I love it. There are no right answers. That's how that's how I should have gone through school. I would have probably done way better.
I mean, to be fair, when we give you yes or no, you could have been like banana, and we would have been like, that's
also
not the
valid.
answer, Dan. That's not it.
That's all. You're like, your
Everything's
identity is
valid.
no matter what. Thanks, y'all.
Okay, number 3. Finish this sentence. Fuckery knows no A, color, B, gender, C, sexuality, or D, all of the above.
D, all of the above.
Yes.
I think we're
That
just
was a hard
handing these to you. These are too easy.
You really are. I was going to say gender because I want to sell my shirts, obviously, but it really is all of the
Well,
above.
if you need a
It's
new
hard
shirt
to
design
fit on a
idea,
shirt.
you could give it with the options and then the all of the above.
Ugh, that's
It's
too
so
much to
much,
read,
yeah.
but you're right. Yeah.
I like
Oh, you
reading.
could do like a Velcro where you could change it every day.
Oh, yeah, that's, see,
Yes.
brilliant ideas right here. Easy. Shameless plug. Get a fuckery knows no gender shirt.
Yes.
All right, next question is, what lesbian looks the most like Justin Bieber? A, Ellen DeGeneres. B, Erica Linder. C, Ruby Rose. Or D, Kate McKinnon.
Okay, you're getting me with these pop culture questions. You know what? I did see when Kate McKinnon did
Justin Bieber, yeah.
lesbian Justin Bieber thing. I'm gonna pick her.
Okay.
I don't know. She might be problematic. Don't.
Oh, is she? I don't think so.
I don't know.
Who
knows?
Yeah,
You
everyone
never
is
know.
really,
You know,
so
but-
it's fine.
The
Thank
truth
you,
is,
yeah.
don't have any faves these days. No one is safe.
Yeah, you can't have a single fave.
No. Okay, question 5, last question. And I know we have covered this extensively with you already. You can answer again, but also we'd love for our listeners to chime in. What are your pronouns out of he, him, she, her, they, them, or all of the above?
All of the
All
above.
of the above.
Love it. Love it. I'm so excited to see how people answer that. I just think it's great.
Yeah.
That's gonna be
And
fun.
remember, you can give us your own answers to this episode's Q&A questions on our Twitter at Let's Hang Out Pod.
Speaking of our social media stuff, Dan, where can people find you on all of the social medias?
My handle is Boy God King pretty much everywhere, on Instagram, on Twitter. And if you go to my Instagram right now, click the link in the bio because I'm writing a book called From One Cult to the Next.
Nice.
And it's about my growing up in an evangelical, 2 different evangelical churches, Pentecostal Holiness and Mormon, and also how the tactics used in those religions I found myself seeing repeated in like personal, emotionally abusive relationships. And it's going to be great because I'm a wonderful writer. And also, I
Yes.
post nudes. I do censor my nipples, but follow me on Instagram, Boy God
If you want to see some
King.
nudes. Amazing. Any other projects coming up besides the book?
Oh my God. I never know what project is coming up until it's already coming. You know what I mean? Like it's Capricorn season and it's every creative idea just turns into business
Amazing.
like that. But I work on stuff with all my clients. So like I produced the podcast Trauma Queen with my client Jim Aniko, which is incredible. So definitely pay attention to that. And if you just follow my Instagram, Boy God King, I talk about everything all the time. So that's probably the best way to keep up with me.
Nice.
Awesome. And everyone can find Radimo online as well at radimo.la, right?
Correct.
Nice.
Thank you.
Got you.
Speaking of Instagrams, we also have an Instagram. It is at Let's Hang Out Pod, and Dan is going to be doing an Instagram story takeover for us this Thursday, January 17th. So, if you want to ask her questions, send them in. He will be answering them on our Instagram, and you, I bet, will not want to miss it.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so
100%.
much for being on, Dan. This was so much fun.
Thank you. It was so fun to be on a les thing. It's been forever.
Yes.
My girlfriend's a lesbian, so I'm like, let me into the community.
We want you here.
Yes.
We say this a lot, and I think we're just gonna always keep saying it, but we're the lesbians. We don't need everyone else to be lesbians, nor do we need to like strictly police what being a lesbian even means. So
Yeah, seriously. Wow. Well, you're a dime a dozen. Does that mean a little bit or a lot of bit?
I think dime a dozen means like easy.
Special.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's
Does
special.
it mean special or
It
not
means
special?
cheap.
No, I
It means
think-
like cheap.
Oh, it does. I was like,
Oh, it does?
Oh, thanks so much. She's like, yeah.
I know. See, we are both the goofy ass ones. We're like, who knows what it means?
I'm like, I
You're
don't.
like, how
you're
many?
a dime
It is
a
a
dozen.
dozen. Who
I
can
don't
count
know, a
that
dime-
many? Come on.
Oh my God, that makes sense that it's cheap because if you get a dozen of something for a dime, that would be a low cost.
Yeah.
It's very
Okay. Well, anyway, you're special because some lesbians are TERFs, is what I was saying.
Yeah.
So you guys are great.
Yeah.
We very much try not to be, so there you go. We'll take it. We'll still take it as a
Great.
compliment.
Amazing.
Y'all are $1 million a dozen.
There you go. Excellent. Excellent.
I feel like that's the perfect end.
Let me hear you say hip, 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 well, yeah.
We love hearing from all of you. We love continuing to build this community, and we just want to take the chance to shout out one of our favorite things that's been happening lately every episode.
Oh my God. And this week, is ridiculous. I was in tears. We got an email from Jackie and Lee of Electric Eye Dust with a song attached.
Was this our Christmas gift?
Yeah, I think it was a Christmas present. And the title was Lovable Lesbian Song. And I think me and Lee are just gonna sing it for you so you really understand.
We are struggling to put it into words how to describe this for everyone, but we want to recreate a little snippet of it here, and it goes like this. No one's a lesbian anymore.
Yeah. So, I mean, we are still lesbians. So, I don't know if that's 100% true, but I'll be very sad if no one is a lesbian anymore. This dystopian song made me pretty sad.
It was possibly the weirdest and most hilarious thing I think we've received yet. So bravo,
ever. Yeah, I was.
Jackie and Lee.
Thank you, Jackie and Lee, for
what a gift,
making me cry tears. It was amazing, amazing. And of course, we have to thank our top tier lesbian Jesus patrons: Amy and Ellen,
Kayla Kelly,
Lizette Stye,
Tanya Ferguson,
Jess Klaus,
Danny Griswold,
Michelle Ray Thomas,
and Mark Foster. Thank you so much to all of you.
Remember, you can also find us on all the social medias, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Let's Hang Out Pod.
You can email us at letshangoutpod@gmail.com.
Or check out our website at letshangoutpod.com.
Make sure that you subscribe to new episodes so that you get them as soon as they release.
And we're also posting on our YouTube channel every other Thursday, so make sure you subscribe at youtube.com/letshangoutpod.
If you want to help support the podcast, there's a couple different ways that you can do that. The first one, it is free, it is easy, is just rate and review us on iTunes. It helps more people find the podcast.
And you can become a patron on our Patreon with our newest perk, which is ad-free episodes for all of our patrons at any level. So for just $1 a month, you can get ad-free episodes.
We also have merch. You can find us at bit.ly/lesshop, including a new design that we are so excited about.
So pumped.
Some of you may remember we coined a new term in our U-hauling episode. It is called screw hauling. And we now have these amazing screw haul shirts. So
yes,
check them out. Get yours now. They're so
great.
Delightful.
They're so great. And somebody actually specifically asked for a screw haul shirt, so we are giving the people what they want. We got you. And also now I need to get one. My entire wardrobe is just Les Hangout merch. And then I'm like, wait, I can't wear these every day? I mean, I could, but, you know. If you want to follow us individually, you can follow me at Ellie Brigida on Instagram and Twitter.
You can find me at LSH Foster on Instagram and Twitter. And with that, I'm Lee.
And I'm Ellie. And let's hang out again soon.
Let's hang out.
Hi, I'm Laura Cathcart-Robbins, and I am the host and creator of the podcast Only One in the Room. Every week, my co-host Scott Slaughter and I invite you to join us and lose yourself in someone's incredible Only One story. We talk to real people dealing with issues like infertility, the death of a loved one, human trafficking, and women who, fake it. Oh, and we want to be fair, so we talk to celebrities too. Emmy winners like actor John Cryer, supermodels like Amber Valletta, and rock stars like Ryan Dusick. Everyone is invited to share their Only One story with our listeners. With 21 seasons and counting, we guarantee you that Only One in the Room has a story that you'll connect with. This podcast is for anyone who has ever felt alone in a room full of people, which is to say that this podcast is for everyone. Download Only One in the Room on Apple or Spotify today.